Get in, nerds. We are playing Victoria 3. So, we got a few things going on. And the biggest one is the French Third Fleet has low organization. That's curious. Let me see. This man has shell shocks. That's not ideal. This guy looks organizing dockyards. That's pretty good. This guy is a pious diplomat. Extra morale recovery. That's pretty good. Reduce morale loss. Increase morale recovery. That's extremely strong. Kill rate doesn't feel that good in context. So we're going to add this guy. He's a Bonapartist. But them's the breaks. So, I no longer have a truce with China, and I don't think any of our previous friends are going to actually fight me if I do myself a big ol' aggression in China. A big ol' aggression. So, let's see. I can do this for an absolutely tiny amount of infamy, a comically small amount of infamy, if we're being honest. Yeah, United States is going to step in. Britain's probably not going to step in. If Brazil steps in, it's not really my business. If Congo steps in, I can reduce their autonomy. So yeah, so let's go ahead and get started with this. I shouldn't have hit the I should have checked the make sure it's a fight box, but them's the breaks. Now I don't want Britain to have a treaty port in my market, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get in here, and that may... if I grab Beijing, and I also grab these other areas, that might make Britain's treaty port completely cut off from the Chinese market, and that would be extremely funny to do. So what is that? That's Jiangxi, Guangxi, and Western Guangdong. And then we also need to grab Beijing. Let's see if that can happen. I think Beijing is going to be a lot of infamy. Nope, same amount as all the others. So let's do it. Let's get the capital. We will conquer... See, I already got Jiangxi in there, so Guangxi. Conquer state, Western Guangdong. Where else do we want to grab? I could grab Shanxi. That would give me a really nice... Shanxi is usually a high development state. A lot of mineral resources there. Oh, yeah, we want Shanxi. Shanxi. Shanxi for everyone. Or, well, for France, really. Yeah, let's do it. And then let me see. They're fearful, but I want to make sure that they don't back down. I got 60 maneuvers left, so that's enough to add all of this to the primary war goals. I'm going to add Beijing. Yeah, I'm going to add all of these to primary. This is a lot of infamy. If I just add Guangxi... Okay, so now I'm doing all this. So I'm going to add Shanxi. That's going to... Okay, that's put me at 50. I can't go any higher than that. In fact, that might have been a strategic error. Let's get some armies ready to go over here. I think we'll use the expeditionary forces. I don't know that we're going to need anyone else. So let's do that. And then the first French expeditionary force we will send straight in. And that'll be fine. Royal March has this weird gap at the end of it. There we go. And once again, we will put our fleets in the region. Alright, we're back down to 49 infamy. That's perfect. Don't want to be in a situation where I am infamous just because I have done a bunch of international crimes. Wonderful, there's arc welding. So this is going to mess up global trade. I'm going to be really pleased about this. Is anyone else like to step in? Doesn't appear so. Hey, law progressive voting. Wonderful. Obviously I can call in Japan, but I don't wish to call in Japan. Open market. That's an interesting one. want to do that. No, I don't need Japan to win this. Plus, this is going to make it really weird for anyone else to try to conquer China. Because I actually may be making a size large strategic error. Hey! There's the inventive achievement. Wonderful. And I think you get that. So this is analytic philosophy. We can see we have some astral ceramics here. What's his name's teapot is the philosophical argument. I forget the man's name, obviously. Heidegger? Is it Heidegger or Wittgenstein? Not sure. Nobody who knows a lot about philosophy make fun of me about that. But if you decide to make fun of me about that, do it in the comments. So, at last, we can get our universities producing even more innovation at the cost of additional paper. Not that that's going to help us, because I believe the inventive achievement means we've closed out the tech tree. And it only took me doing an extremely tech-focused build in a country that's that already starts ahead. Booyah! A triumph of large economies. Alright, things are looking good. I don't think they're going to back down. I'm going to leave this outside of the primary war goals. I don't think they'll back down. And if they back down, then that's fine. I'm going to get the capital. That's the primary thing. It would be extremely funny if they then put their market capital in eastern Guangdong, thus creating what economists refer to as a whole situation. Mexico sides with Java against the Javanese revolt. That's an interesting situation here. Would I get a subject? No. Them's the breaks. Cash flow's doing well. I don't think I need to increase taxation about this. Like, being a little bit negative is just fine, actually. And I don't think they're gonna, like, invade France or anything. It doesn't seem like they have the ability to, or at least it doesn't... I don't think they've got the ability to. They've only got a couple of fleets. If they invade France, I'll mobilize my French armies. My armies of France. But again, I don't think they're gonna need to. Obviously, this will mean we'll need to be a little bit more chill with our power block brethren, but them's the breaks. The Paris Citizens Association, a social club with the educated class, popular with the educated class, has held a salon in Paris with Marcel Marcel Delepol, I think is how that would be pronounced, speaking in favor of the total separation of church and state as an honored guest. That is indubitably the case, but have you considered what the reception of such a thing would be? Delepol nodded towards the speaker, then back around the wood-paneled room. She put down her cup. I have spent some time thinking of it. We must in all things consider the thoughts of those who behold a thing for the first time. A first viewing is carried out with the eyes of an innocent, with mind open for new possibilities. They seem like the sort to know what's best, extra enactment chance, or encourage the further development of these salons, extra universal pop strength and minimum expected standard of living from literacy and qualifications in Ile-de-France. Yeah, I'll do the second one. That's fine. We can make things, we can make the capital better represented. That won't lead to anything weird happening. Laughs in history of France. Actually, we'll put you in a second. There's the war breaking out. And they're on their way back now. Beautiful. Are we doing any convoy raiding? We are doing some convoy raiding. Are you a good convoy raider? Yeah, seems like you are. Anyone who's really good at this? Doesn't seem like it. I say without checking who's got the convoy raider ability. Overly enthusiastic partisans. Supporters of the Union of Rights have gone beyond simply campaigning for their own party. Harassing and sometimes physically attacking opposing partisans. I'm a simple party man, that's all. I know who I like and I know who I don't like. And I know I want my people to win and their people to lose. Crack down on Union of Rights, reduce momentum for them, or let the Union of Rights partisans continue unmolested, weaker and angrier trade unions. Trade unions actually do have some effect on the country. We'll piss them off. Yeah. Get going. How's the election look? It looks like the Democratic Alliance, it looks like momentum is kind of rebalanced towards center, which has really, really benefited the Democratic Alliance. That's excellent for our overall setup. I'm really pleased with that. And there's total separation of church and state. That completes our petition and moves us up to a righteous government. Oh, that's wonderful. That's fan-diddly-tastic. We have now got a hold of the capital. I believe Beijing is the capital. Yes. So this means they should no longer have war support protection, which they do not. Which means basically our victory is a foregone conclusion at this stage. We lost a general. Let's just take a quick look at our armies to make sure they're looking good. They are. No problems there. Fruitful endorsements. In a gesture of solidarity with the Union of Rights, Roland Rapelin has encouraged his supporters to vote for it in the ongoing election. For the interest of all principled people, the Union of Rights has a consistent record of excellence. I cannot speak higher of those brave men and women moving the Kingdom of France forwards under their name. He has our thanks, certainly, 30% momentum for them, or this endorsement would best be more specific. Stronger armed forces and 20% momentum with the Union of Rights instead of 30%. Let's go with the first one. Extra momentum long-term. Well, there's no long-term anymore. It's the end of the campaign. Although I try not to operate as though it's the end of the campaign, because realistically, that's not a way that countries operate. Let's go ahead and build... Let's go ahead and take a look at Congo and Congo Oriental. Just to see where we are with those places. How is the railway doing here? Okay, so this railway can actually increase in size. We're going to need extra power plants to make that work. Yeah, power is expensive there, so that's how we'll deal with that. Congo Oriental. We're good with power, but we need extra railways. So let's build them. And then power shortages, Equatoria, Darfur, and Guyana. Or Guyana, rather. Population, local prices. Can't fix the power problem here. I can only subsidize the plant. Well, subsidizing the plant will fix the power problem. Equatoria is here. Power is expensive. We need another level. They're already subsidized. Not a problem. And then Guyana here. Local price of power is very low. We'll build another level and we'll subsidize. Just to make sure that those stay chill. And that should be fine. Alright, back to the war in China. Happily, we've passed total separation of church and state, and that should make all our pops really happy. I can't imagine anyone being upset by this. False democracy. Marcel Delépole has issued a condemnation of the French electoral system, endorsing abstention from voting in what she calls a sham to placate the people. She's a vanguardist aligned with the liberal movement. In the dictatorship of the reactionary, of the rich and powerful, obscured from the view of the people by a facade of democracy, the best thing one may do is demonstrate the futility of such a guise, so that the people may be spurred into action regardless of concession. The government must now know that we see through their system, reduce legitimacy. 5 years, intelligentsia pops become more radical. Reduce momentum for the Republicans, extra momentum for the Resistance Party. Discrediting the system is the next step towards revolution. Reduce political strength per vote, reduce legitimacy. 10% of intelligentsia pops in France become more radical. Reduce momentum for the Republicans, extra momentum to the FTSF. Or, their supporters aren't voting, ours certainly are. Reduce momentum to the Republicans, extra momentum to the Democratic Alliance. I'm definitely going to pick that third one. That's what we're going for, and that's going to really... I'm hoping that's going to really clinch the election for the Democratic Alliance in a meaningful way. And it's looking like it definitely is. We might be able to snag a majority. If we can keep things going at this excellent rate. We are continuing to move forward in China. China is not losing war support as fast as I would like, but them's the breaks. Yes, death march toward the end of China. That's definitely what it's a reference to. It's not me in a death march. Yves Dai, a nihilist aligned with the petite bourgeoisie. What an interesting individual. We'll see what becomes of him. of having this man in the country. The good old days. When invited to give a speech on behalf of the resistance party, Yves Dai began extolling the virtues of a strong home, strong borders, and strong men. The public reception was mixed. Truly, I dare say the men are no longer men. They are coddled with books as if they are any substitute for a real adventure. Their mothers swaddle them in cotton and silk, only for them to be henpecked by their wives, and heaven forbid they take a pint of beer, one sip, and they need their fathers to carry them home. Won't somebody think of the children? Extra momentum to the resistance party, or rhetoric cannot disguise what Dai wants. Reduced momentum and reduced popularity for Yves Dai. We'll pick the second one. I don't want the resistance party to get even more momentum, and so their momentum has indeed been reduced. I might actually manage to take over China before this whole war ends. Even Tuva. Even Widow Tanner Tuva. Look it up. It was a real historical country. Kind of. I shouldn't say things like that. That's not kind. Oh. Uh-oh. Okay, someone's got a man the note. Let me wait and see if any of our subjects go there. All right. Well, we'll put one army over there just to clinch out that front. The Tuva front. Because you got to take over Tuva. That's a part of China. Infertile grounds. Finding both the French public and supposed political allies unreceptive to his ideas, frustrated, Yves Dai has decided to retire. Dais. That's how I should be pronouncing this. Has decided to retire from the realm of politics, opting instead to spend the rest of his days penning embittered reflections on what could have been. I give these bumpkins the truth, and how am I rewarded? With deafening silence. And they call Paris a city of ideas, of culture. The only evidence of cultivation I found in that cesspool of a city came from the fields outside of it, and even they were cared for poorly. Good riddance to you all, I say, sirs. Good riddance to you all. Let him peddle his ideas in peace, away from Paris. He retires from politics and settles domestically, or politely inform him that his presence is unwanted in the Kingdom of France. He is exiled, and the petite bourgeoisie become unhappy. Yeah, I can piss off the petite bourgeoisie a little bit. Get him out of here. We'll have him creating problems for a different country. The natural solution. Members of the Union of Rights have loudly stated that the only way to lead us out of the Kingdom of France versus Great Qing War is to leave the government of our nation in their capable hands. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Not that we are a desperate measure, of course. That's just how the saying goes. The natural order of linguistics. To each their own. Ordo naturalis. We must play by those rules. And how could something be more natural than letting the Union of Rights lead us through the war? Truly, they're the most capable people. Armed forces happier. 20% momentum. I don't really need the armed forces to be happier. I just did a thing they wanted with the whole religion thing. So I don't necessarily need that. Or military populism in my war. 5% of officers and servicemen become more radical. Reduce momentum for the Union of Rights. 10% of academics pops become more loyalist. I'm actually going to do the first one. Throwing them a little momentum is not necessarily a bad problem. They form a good coalition with our leading industrialists, so it's not necessarily a problem. As you can see, wealth voting has really, really locked in the strength of our industrialists, so I'm feeling pretty rock solid about our ability to win this election. In a landslide. No less. I've got a little bit more authority to play with. Do I have anything do I have any double authority ones? I do not. Yeah, we'll tax dope. Tax some dope. Alright. So wow. We've actually we're gonna finish this war before I finish these railways. Oh, actually, we might not. It depends on how fast we go in the south. There's the election. That should lock us into a righteous government. And can it be righteous without the Union of Rights? Doesn't appear to be. Them's the breaks, friends. But that is all we need. Why don't you go to one of the fronts, sir? Why don't you visit the front? Why don't you go forward to the front? A slave revolt in Oyo, you know that's going to be my problem. Here's... Nah, I'm just going to mobilize an army that's already over there. All my other armies are going to come over there once the war is finished. Excuse me. Alright, guys, come on. Let's get the show on the road here. We are losing a small number of convoys, but I don't think that's really a factor. Oh, no, we might actually get the railways done before the end of the war. That's exciting. That's so very exciting. And depending on how fast these two armies go, they might clinch an end to the war before China is pieced out purely by virtue of the fact that they don't have any more war support. But them's the breaks. This is going to lead to a really weird global economy weirdness and weirdification. Alright. And that is the conquest of another huge swath of China. Let's do some state management, shall we? First, we'll reset production methods. No reason to get silly over that. Step 2, we got to build up some heckin' power. I'm going to build a bunch in Beijing, and then the others, I'm going to build a small amount. Henan I did not conquer this time, but Jiangxi I conquered this time. Guangxi I conquered this time. And Shanxi I conquered this time, and Western Guangdong. So that'll be good. Then after that, I think the plan is probably to just max out resource production in Shanxi. Let me see. Wow, there is a lot of turmoil here, I must say. How much turmoil is there here? Oh man, it's an uncommon amount. Alright, let's see here. We gotta get these railways running a better method. We'll do steam trains. And we'll subsidize the... Oh, no, we'll keep them subsidized. I'm actually going to do this with all of the areas that I've recently conquered, because they're currently on experimental. Because that's what they go to if they don't have the, if they don't have the juice. And by juice, I mean electrical power. I should clarify. I should be a clear cat. Alright. Let's give it a week to turn over and see how the, see how it looks with... Okay, lads. Why don't y'all come back to France? Come back to France, the place you live at. This small army will probably deal with that front, so that shouldn't be a problem. Now, let's take a quick look at the railways. Those are hiring, so let's give them a second to continue to hire, to get maxed out, and then we'll see kind of how bad the infrastructure situation is. I probably shouldn't be waiting. I should probably simply be building, but them's the breaks. Alright, so, railway in Jiangxi is complete. Infrastructure is good to go. Alright, I'm actually going to add 5 levels to infrastructure here, 5 here, and 5 here, just to make things easier. Beijing is actually low on infrastructure by quite a few levels. Railways are still trying to hire. I'm going to build 10 levels here just for funsies. And then here in Shanxi, infrastructure is good to go, but I am going to build an additional 5 levels of railways just to provide a baseline sufficiency of infrastructure. A lot of this stuff is going to take a long time to build because of all the turmoil. The Equateur crop failure. The state of Equateur has been struck by a blight. Crops are left dying and left and right. Crops are dying left and right. Not left dying, dying left and right. And the harvest is sure to be less than expected this year. Oh boy, we are doing it live. We noticed some crops dying a few weeks ago, but we didn't think anything of it. We always lose a few. We didn't expect this. This will affect the harvest minus 60% agriculture and plantation throughput, Or will help how we can. Costs a ridiculous amount. Minus 30% extra welfare payments. I'm going to do the first one. Come on, it's a third of a million a week. What do you expect from me? My institutions are large, but the system can't be that inefficient. Alright. So, we'll get these fleets back in, back towards French waters. There's the Oyo Slaver Revolt popping off. I think that's largely going to be a non-question. Yeah, they only control this tiny territory, so I'm not worried whatsoever. Actually, let's get really deep in there. There's a battle. We're winning. Yeah, there you go. We control 55% of the territory, it seems like. So one more battle should do it from here. And that'll make our cash flow situation a lot better. Delicious water. Heck yes. Look at all the GDP we gained from that war. Wonderful. Alright, that is going to improve our cash flow. Excellent, excellent, excellent. First round of... Oh, no, last round of... first round of power plants is nearing completion. So the Jiangxi ones will be first. So now, let's get these railways over to the electric trains method. That'll create a market for electricity. Next is going to be Guangxi and Western Guangdong. Those are both going to finish at the same time. We'll do the same for them. Guangxi and then Western Guangdong. Come on. And then finally the ones in Shanxi. Well, I guess the ones in Beijing already got done. Yeah, it seems that way. Alright, so we'll grab the railways here. And we'll turn those into electric railways as well. And that'll be just dandy. Then we'll do the ones in Shanxi. And that will complete that. And now that we've got a power market in all these areas... Oops. Click the wrong building. Now that we've got a power market in all these areas, I can properly reset the production methods, and then I'll have a better sense of what is needed in each of these states. So, power plants are trying to automatically downsize, but they are also hiring, so that's weird. Students rally to the Han National Movement. A group of students attending the university at Rennes have arranged a demonstration in support of the Han National Movement. The display has inspired other students to join the cause. The lecture hall was barren. There are always one or two students missing for illnesses, travel, or family occasions, but nothing of this scale. There were 3 or 4 students per row, each thrown into sharp contrast by the empty seats to their sides. It was material for a lecture of its own, he thought. Like a heap of sand whose grains had blown away one after another until its form suddenly changed, so followed what had once been a class. The youth will lead the Kingdom of France into the future. A stronger Han political movement, increase universal pop strength in Rennes and reduce university throughput, or they ought to focus on their studies, half the modifiers to universal pop strength and university throughput, and 5% of academics pops become more radical. But the Han National Movement doesn't get stronger. I'm going to do the second one because I don't want a strong Han National Movement. In fact, cash flow is doing just fine right now. I'm going to cut some consumption taxes and put a suppression. Can't do it unless I cut 2. That's fine. We're going to suppress the Han National Movement. Them's the breaks. All right, I'm trying to do right by this area, not incorporating them or anything. I'm not that normal, but All right, so Beijing. First of all, how are you for infrastructure? You're good on infrastructure. You're good on taxation capacity. That's good. World market access, Garbo. Drop and give me 20 levels of trade centers. Shanxi. You're low on taxation capacity. Let me see. Each level is going to add 30. We'll just add 10. Let me take a look and see how well employed they are. They're fully employed. All right, so that shouldn't be a problem. Railways are continuing to increase. How is trade capacity? It's looking pretty down bad. Oh, I'm back in Beijing. That was dumb. Well, 30 levels of trade centers will be fine. Did I do this right? Yes, I did. Alright. Don't want to go back again. Alright, so now we're building trade centers in Shanxi. And the private sector should get building these mines any second now, basically. So them's the breaks. How is power costs? Okay, power's doing alright. Let's subsidize these power plants, because we need these power plants running at good capacity. These ones are already subsidized. These ones we will subsidize. Yeah, I'm just going to subsidize all of them. All the ones I just took over, at least. Because, we want power prices to go down. Okay, Western Guangdong actually needs more. So we're going to put in another 5 levels of power plants over there. Guangxi is doing basically okay. I'm going to add 1 more level of power plants. Jiangxi. Prices are looking just fine. With 5 levels of power plants, they'll be able to sustain themselves. Oh, Henan I already had Henan. Henan I'd taken earlier. Shanxi, it'll eventually be just fine. So, now, how are other things looking? Yes, taxation capacity, I dealt with that. Henan, I took over earlier, so it's mostly fixed up. Let's add a few more trade centers here, just to make things easier. Jiangxi is very low on taxation capacity. Are the government admins fully staffed? They are. Am I losing this due to a modifier? Doesn't appear so. Standard of living, pollution, impact, reduced infrastructure, reduced birth rate, increased mortality. What's causing all this? Oh, the pollution. Well, that'll do it. But am I getting taxation capacity? Doesn't seem like it. Henan's quite a well-developed state industrially. So this is a significant... I'm going to put 5 levels of infrastructure here. No, taxation capacity here is good. It's Jiangxi that's low. Alright, let's try that one again. Optimal sunlight, Yangtze River. I need to stop hitting back when I'm changing tabs in the state view. That's what's causing me to make this mistake. Alright, I'm going to put in 20 levels here, because that should... If there's a 50% throughput bonus, that'll at most be, like, 900, and that's less than the amount we need, so hopefully I won't overshoot it too bad that way. Now, Guangxi, same deal. No world market access in Jiangxi. I'm going to build some trade centers. Same deal in Guangxi. I'm going to build some trade centers. Recently conquered, not affecting anything that I'm dealing with here. And then finally, Western Guangdong is also short on taxation capacity. I think 10 levels would be completely sufficient. Plenty of trade capacity here. Let's increase it by 20 levels. And infrastructure here is just fine. Alright, there we go. I'm really trying to avoid having another Han national uprising. Mostly for role-playing reasons, I feel like. Role-playing reasons. By the way, we are coming up on the end of the episode. I am probably just going to... Well, I don't know how long the next episode's going to last for, so, you know, we'll keep things going as they are. We'll keep things going as they are for the moment. Soon. And by soon, I mean not before the end of the run, but it would be fun to be able to get East Africa into our... I got the British out of here. This is a British country, but it's not... Afro-Antillean mass immigration. Yeah, they're migrating from Great Britain. Wonderful. That's just great. Obviously, these graphs are bugged, so you can't see it, but the number of radicals has increased significantly, and that's mostly due to me conquering a bunch of states in China. Which, again, should not shock anyone. People, I don't know if you have noticed this, do not enjoy being conquered. They think it sucks, and they hate it. Oh. Ew. War in Sierra Leone. Not going to have too much of a problem there. Let's send the Army of West Africa to deal with the situation. This might end up being a very chill end of the run. We'll see how it goes. And we are officially finished with all those earlier government admins. I'm actually going to throw all these government admins at the top of the queue just to get them done ASAP, because government admins are super duper fast to complete. And then we'll be working on all the rest of the stuff. Again, I'm really, really hoping that my the progress of my development in China will be brisk, so that I don't wind up in a situation where the places are totally down bad for an extended period of time. Because that's, you know, that's not fun. That having been said, that is all the time we've got for this episode, my nerds. I have had fun. I hope you all have had fun, and I will see you on the other side.